of the Harbor Shellfish Advisory Board, December 15th, a little after 5 p.m. I'll confirm member access as a preliminary matter. This is the Harbor Shellfish Advisory Board. I am the chairman, Andy Lowell, to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, I'll call your name. Please respond in the affirmative. I see Dave Franzuto.
Aye.
Dave Bossi.
Here.
Tom Sadlowski.
Here.
Do we have Ginger Andrews on the phone?
Here.
Thank you, Ginger. Not seeing any staff. Anticipated speakers on the agenda. We have Ted Lambrecht. Thank you, Ted.
Are you on?
All right, introduction to the remote meeting. I see Kona also. Good afternoon. This open meeting of the Harbor Shellfish Advisory Board is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, Harbor and Shellfish Advisory Board is convening by video conference via Zoom app, as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. For Zoom meetings, please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and to take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Meeting materials, all supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise. Meeting business ground rules. We're now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in a conversation with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. For items with public comment, after members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment to those members of the public that have joined the meeting via Zoom. Members of the public who wish to speak must state their names and be acknowledged by and speak through the chair. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. Do we have an approval of tonight's agenda?
This is Ginger, so moved.
Thank you, Ginger. A second? Is there
Tom, second.
made and seconded by Tom? Dave Bossi, approval?
Approved.
Yep. Tom, Dave Franzuto?
Aye.
Peter Brace?
Aye.
Andy Lowell, aye. Approval of draft minutes of October 20th, 2020.
And it should say December 1 as well, so.
All right.
Reset.
I have November 3rd on there also. December 1 should be on there. Okay, we'll start with October 20th. Anybody have any changes, revisions they'd like to suggest? I believe, is this the one where I had an issue? Peter?
Hold on.
I don't have them in front of me, I'm sorry. Like the last sentence in the first paragraph. If so, I'm gonna drop my issue at this point. I'd just like to see the agendas get completed. And, if there's something more about that issue later on, we can bring it up, certainly.
Okay.
So is there an approval or a motion to approve October 20th minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
This is
Thank
Ginger.
you, Ginger. Motion's been made and seconded to approve October 20th minutes. Motion made by Mr. Bossy, seconded by Ms. Andrews. Approval of that, Mr. Franzuto?
I don't think I was there, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Mr. Bossy?
Approved.
Mr. Brace?
Approve.
I'll approve also. We have 4 on that? We do. November.
I'm abstaining anyway because I wasn't there either.
Okay. All right. We still have 4 on that. Ginger?
Yes, that's fine with me.
No, I just saw you flash up. Didn't know if you had something to say. Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of November 3rd, or are there any revisions to be made?
And Ginger had she said she had some typos. But
Yes.
she didn't
I don't. I wasn't there. I was just commenting on the I think I was commenting on the report itself, but
If there are,
I presume that you found them.
no, I didn't find them. It'd be,
Pete,
hold on. It'd be great if you would just email them to me and save me
Okay.
going through the whole document and deciding what I think are typos. Tell me what the typos are.
Mr. Sidlowski.
Peter, did you get my email of typos? Okay,
Yep, much appreciated.
you're welcome.
Whenever you can, Ginger, okay?
Sure.
Okay.
So can I
I
move
was
to
not
approve?
at this meeting, so I don't think I can vote on it.
Well, you did second the motion to approve.
Oh, I was before I looked at the who was there. I'm sorry.
All right. Do we have a quorum here to approve this tonight? Who else was abstaining from
Yes.
the 3rd? Anybody?
Yeah, I have to abstain too, but I believe the other 4 of you were there. So
We have 4 of
Ginger and I
us
were-
here.
Okay.
Yeah, Ginger and I
All
were
right.
missing.
All right. I'll start over again then. Let's have a motion to approve the minutes from November 3rd
So moved.
and a second by
Second.
By
Dave
Mr.
Franzuto.
Franzuto. The motion was moved by Mr. Sidlowski. All in favor, Mr. Brace?
Aye.
And Mr. Lowell, aye. And Mr. Bossy abstaining. Ms. Andrews abstaining. Okay, December 1st minutes. Are there any revisions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Sidlowski, motions to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second that. This is Ginger.
Andrews seconds. No revisions to be made. All in favor of approval, Mr. Bossy,
Yes.
Mr. Franzuto,
I have to abstain. I wasn't there.
okay, Mr. Brace,
Aye.
I will approve as well. Nothing in chairman's report this evening that I can think of. Marine Department report. Have we been joined by Ms. Lucy?
We have not.
All right, and I noticed earlier that we left out the liveaboard regulations on the agenda,
Yeah, that was an oversight on my part. But-
and mine as well. And I had asked everybody who has suggestions that we somehow, either we get them to Peter and put it all together in one letter, or somehow get our suggestions sent to Sheila. My biggest suggestion is that I really feel, in my biggest concern, of course, is, the abandonment that took place and the lack of action taken over the abandonment. And I believe with the help of Mr. Franzuto, looked through the regulations, and there's a number of ways that some discipline could be used, such as no use of the town pier, no use of the ramp at Children's Beach or any other ramp on island. And I simply would like to suggest that these disciplinary measures be taken into action if something like this happens again. I know Mr. Bossy had a nice copy of a registration form. I think we should forward on to her somehow. Has anybody else, any board members, something in particular for us to put together for this and try to at least get it in front of Sheila on her desk, that she works on it over the next couple of months and comes to us with some revisions so we can finally bring this to the attention of the select board.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Franzuto.
I felt that the form that Dave Bossy came up with was great. I thought that's a great step in the right direction. And then, of course, the enforcement, if there is some kind of infraction.
Okay. Anybody else?
Oh, go ahead, Tom.
I like the form. There are only a couple of thoughts I had to think that I thought about was that it has an application somewhere else in the terms so that the registration and the liability insurance are elsewhere, and therefore they don't get renewed when this agreement is renewed, if it would be renewed annually. And it doesn't say how frequently it should be renewed that I could see. The other thing we should talk about at some point is do we believe that there is a minimum size for a liveaboard? This thing has a 32-foot minimum. I don't know if that's something we think is important, but those are 2 points I saw there. I think the insurance thing is very important, that the boat be insured.
I agree. Good. And the renewal, if you're not seeing someplace, Tom, that it has to be renewed every year, that would certainly be important that it is renewed every year. As far as the length goes, the boat that was scuttled last year was under 32 feet, certainly more than sizable enough at 28 feet to accommodate several people, I would imagine. Peter, is there a way you can either, take notes through this or take it from the minutes, and maybe when we're done?
I was going to put the form on the screen if we all wanted to see that.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if at some point, okay, if you can draft a letter, and are we able to, certainly we can give this letter directly to Sheila without going through the select board?
Sure. Yeah.
Sure. It's just a recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's us saying, per our previous conversation about liveaboard regulations and aiding you in something about, something to that effect. Here are what we suggest, and hopefully you incorporate these things, something like that.
Okay.
My suggestion as far as the size is concerned, I had forgotten that it did say that. I would just suggest that wording be any boat that is used, any vessel that is used for a liveaboard.
Okay.
And
I believe we did have another issue. Gosh, it was just right there.
I've got one.
Go ahead, Peter.
So you need to clarify whose name we're putting down here. Are we putting the name of the person who's going to be living aboard? And if so, we should say that. And I think we should add a space here for the name of the owner of the boat and their contact information, because,
Well,
it's not here. It should be specified, Dave Franzuto owns this boat. He lives in this place. This is his phone number, his cell number, his email.
Peter, not to interrupt, but it has to be the owner because it
Right.
cannot be sublet according to the bylaw.
Right.
So it has to
Right.
be the owner.
Okay.
This must be the boat owner, and only the boat owner could insure it.
So
Exactly.
it should say boat owner's name, so there's no misunderstanding, because
Good
Mhm.
point.
because
point.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
Peter, how do I get this thing to zoom down or scroll down?
I can scroll down,
Oh, okay.
but what I
Peter,
was,
I had the same thought you had, and then I looked at the first section, which is because it doesn't really call it the responsible party, but the first section, because in this case, everybody's in a mooring, has in mooring the name, address, phone number, and email, and that would be the responsible party.
right,
And then they have people living aboard. But it was hard. I had the same thought you had for a while. And I said, it's there, but it's not really clear that this person's taking on the responsibility of the agreement.
well, Mr. Chairman and Tom, what was running through my mind was, someone could come into the Marine Department with this thing filled out, and just say, we're going to be living on this boat. Here's my name, blah blah blah. Have all the information. Couldn't they get away with that? No, Dave.
No, because right now it's tied. The information is gleaned from the mooring permit, which
Okay.
is the boat owner. So
And-
when you make this application, it has to be the boat owner, which is tied to the mooring permit.
Okay. So
Because you don't want a situation where a guy comes in and borrows a mooring and then is a live aboard. It has to be the registered owner of the mooring.
But
okay.
he could
So
lease a mooring from the guy who leases it, and he wouldn't. I don't think would he have his own mooring permit to do that?
No. He those boats that come in and rent a mooring are, I guess, by definition, a live aboard, but they're under his rental agreement.
Yeah.
Well,
But if you look
That's
at
a
the
whole
terms,
nother, I think that's a whole nother
yeah.
can of worms that we would have to address.
Well, the terms and conditions in the eligibility is vague because it talks about an application and you need insurance and proof of registration. And I really think that this should be the agreement and there shouldn't have to be a separate application, and that the insurance and proof of registration should be part of this and they should be exhibits to this agreement.
Right, so there should be in one of the vessel information, there should be an insurance entry in there for insurance information, carrier, and policy number,
Policy
Right.
number.
date. I would suggest we change name up top to mooring holder's name, or boat owner's name,
correct.
because the boat owner would have to be the mooring owner. The town would enforce that. Those are two changes. I would agree we could strike the 32 foot.
I think the thing that threw me off was, you see in the first block there, it says mooring number. So that gets me in the game right away. I look up that mooring number and I can tell you the guy's name, address, and all of his contact information right there. So
Right, but it should flow to this form. It's what to give you a single spot where it's all there. That's all. That someone could pick up this.
right,
and
I
access
see what
this
you mean.
person.
Yeah.
That's all.
I think if you just change the word name to owner,
Or boat owner.
you solve a lot of
Boat owner.
problems. Or boat
Actually,
owner.
vessel. Yeah, vessel owner.
Vessel.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
And add and I would suggest adding insurance information right into that vessel information table.
Right, right.
Carrier,
Well, they should attach
Carol-
the insurance form. I mean, the one-page insurance, you know,
Yeah,
when you get
the
insurance,
binder
you get
page.
the
Yep.
binder, whatever it's called.
Certificate, right.
There should be a certificate of insurance of some kind.
A checkbox, put a checkbox on here, certificate of insurance attached, check.
Yeah.
It's
Registration, copy of registration attached.
Copy of registration, yep. Maybe a little checklist added to this. I like that.
I
You know
don't,
what, Dave?
I honestly don't want to make this more complicated. But as I said to you guys before, you can have a boat that is neither registered nor documented. And, and it can be of significant size. You can have a 50-foot sailboat that's not registered or documented if it doesn't have power. So, but I don't
Well,
want
then
to,
they'd have to have proof of ownership.
well, but most definitely, but I don't want to complicate it, but again, Peter, if you could scroll down just a bit. I think what we're doing is good work right now, because I think we could puzzle this out really, really well. Thank you, Peter.
Well, Mr. Bossy, you started to say something before Mr. Franzuto about adding a line. Or-
Adding a line for insurance, I think, Mr. Franzutis, we don't overcomplicate it by thinking about the exceptions right now in this document, because if we do have somebody come in with a 50-footer that's not registered and it's not documented, it's probably insured. Maybe it is, but nobody would give me insurance unless it's documented or registered, one or the other.
Right.
They would
this
probably fail on that. So I
anticipates-
think it's one of the exceptions that could occur, but maybe we shouldn't, maybe we don't have to worry about it on the form. That could be, we could handle that separately.
Yeah, I think
Look,
we just ask for it, and if we don't get it for some reason, then we take it on a one-by-one cases.
Right, that's exactly.
It's actually in the document, proof of vessel registration / ownership. So they understood that there may be an ownership versus a registration issue. And it's here. We just have to make sure that it's attached to
Right.
this document, not to some other application, because otherwise they could renew this document without showing that their insurance has been renewed or proving that the boat hasn't been sold.
Right. You could have a boat come in from the Cayman Islands. The guy wants to be here for the summer, use it as a liveaboard. But he's probably going to be on a rental mooring, or he's going to be on anchor, which is something that we're not addressing here either. But I think this is a great first step.
All right, well, Mr. Franzuto, do you think we should take more time
No,
before
No.
we, okay.
no, I think we need to get this to her.
Yeah,
Let her try to,
all right.
mark it up or whatever. And then we get it going, so we have it for this coming spring.
Two things that come to mind when you were talking about length. Gosh, what was the Miss China, 75 feet long?
Yeah, 72.
And then we had Mr. Duggan, who brought in cabin cruiser. Gosh, it looked like it had to be at least 75 feet long a couple of years ago. And I believe he was hoping to keep it out there just off of First Point all winter. And Sheila was able to get him to bring it to Hyannis. I'm just concerned we need to make an attachment. The bigger the boat is, the more it costs to dispose of it. And the more it would cost to salvage it if it were to be sunk. And I think requiring insurance is great, but how much? The insurance needs to cover the amount to salvage the craft from its worst case scenario to disposing of the craft. And I don't know if we can somehow add that language without making it complicated, but we need to have enough insurance to cover salvage and disposal.
Mr. Chairman,
Right.
DeBosse.
I was just thinking back on my experience, and I believe that there was an environmental rider now that is required for exactly that, for the worst case scenario. So if you're going to carry insurance liability, one of the riders that I was required to carry was you go down and you've got the fuel leakage and you've got everything and
Boy.
disposal of the hull.
And environmental cleanup, so you've added a
Right.
third.
I-
So I
Costly
think
issue.
that's covered by the policy, and maybe if we could come up with some wording that would put that in here, that a liability policy would encompass that. I do worry about getting too much in here in 1 year. That's, in the first year. I guess it's nice to make it as strong as we can in the first year.
Well, it's taken us a year to get to this point,
That's-
so we ought to really, we ought to try to hammer out everything that's an issue. I mean, I also have an issue with an inoperable boat, and Sheila has accepted that as long as the boat owner has some type of a connection or contract with a tow company to be able to move his boat, if said person is ordered to move the boat by the harbor master, I'm just not comfortable with that. I truly feel the boat should be able to operate under its own power, and simply because people go on vacation, boats have breakdowns. What if a hurricane's barreling down on us and somebody's not available to tow this boat out of the anchorage and into a safe place?
Well, then
I'd like
that's-
somehow,
This-
Mr. Brace, if we could explain, get into there, I mean, some of this has to be left open in a way for Sheila to hash out and, hopefully
Well-
come back to us with it, that just simply not happy
Mr.
with accepting a boat that is inoperable.
Mr.
well,
Chairman,
the
not
scenario
with Mr.
that you're given
Sadowski.
is you
Sorry.
take,
All right, go ahead, Dave.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Go ahead, Dave.
You get Towboat US, or the harbor master hooks to the thing and puts it in the boat basin.
Yeah.
Or you put it on 2 or 3. What I used to do is put them on 2 or 3 rental moorings at a time. I'd hook them to 3 1,000-pound moorings. If the owner was, if the owner called and said, look, I'm stuck I can't get there. I mean,
Well,
but
but-
to your
but-
point, Andy, I think you got to give her a little leeway and let her chime in on that.
Okay.
Um,
Well, the way you're explaining it to me right now, Mr. Franzuto, is that the taxpayer is going to pay the harbor master
Yep.
to move his boat into a safe harbor.
right.
And I still
That's-
don't like that either.
But
Mr.
that's part of,
Sadowski.
that's part of the harbor master's responsibility. But you gotta also remember that the times have changed in the liability world. I wouldn't have hesitated for a minute to hook to it and move it. But times have changed, so that's why I'm saying you need to let her weigh in on what she feels comfortable with doing.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Sadowski.
Sorry.
So the document we're sending says vessels must be seaworthy and operable, immediately ready for cruising in local waters. I think we let her come back from that with whatever she feels she needs to give her the opportunity or give people the opportunity. But this document says that they must be operable.
And the one we're looking at right now?
Exactly, under
Okay.
both qualifications.
Thank you for noting that, Mr. Sadowski.
But I will say, I might take out owners attempting to use vessels solely to live aboard and not utilize for boating are ineligible for live aboard status, because I think that goes against the point we're talking about.
Okay,
I would agree to strike that. I think that's a good, that's a good idea, to strike that last sentence.
okay,
But
Basically-
send her an operations clause and let her come back with what she needs to make her job work.
okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Brace,
okay, so at the end of this discussion, I need you guys to all summarize what you want me to do, and then it's 3 weeks to the next meeting. You've got to give me that time to compose what I'm going to compose for the things that we want to do, plus this form. And I'll manipulate the form the way I think it should go, the way you guys tell me it should go. I'll use the minutes as the information that I need to put in this form, as well as the changes that we're proposing. But I think I need to produce that letter and have a revised version of this form for our next meeting. And then at that meeting, you say, okay, let's send this stuff out with these changes.
Well,
I don't
as
think
we
it,
Mr. Chairman, as we had recommended, and I'm totally remiss, I didn't do it, but I can send you my stuff in an email
okay,
after going over it again a little more thoroughly, but I'm sorry I didn't do it for this meeting.
well, you can, all of us can do that. All of you guys can send it to me. Even
Okay,
if we're talking about it now, if you send me an email, I'll have it in front of me.
And you want the email tomorrow, so you have some time.
Well, I mean, we're gonna have 3 weeks until the next meeting. The next meeting is January 5th, so
But we should get to it quickly, so we give you as much time as possible, because you may
I'm
have
not-
some.
I'm not trying to
formatting
cut the-
stuff.
the discussion in half. I'm just saying, when we're done, I should have something in front of me that says, this is what you want me to do.
okay.
Okay,
I was kind of hoping you could interpret that from what we're discussing now and out of the minutes. It's simple enough. Board members, you jot down your thoughts and get them emailed in. I'll try to do the same, Mr. Brace. And I can understand that for simplicity for you, so you don't have to listen through and try to interpret.
no, I mean, I'm gonna end up doing the minutes anyway, but
Yeah,
it'll help if I have everything in front of me, then I can write a letter
all right,
and I can manipulate the form
yeah,
as everyone sees fit. So,
okay. Okay. Well, keep, board members, keep your thinking caps on that. Put it together for Peter. Try not to forget what we've gone over here, because this is the best we've hashed it out yet. I'm
Well-
really happy with it. And
Andy, what I was saying is, I'm not trying to stop the conversation.
no,
Okay.
no. Well, if there's anything more, the board's welcome to chime in. If there's anything else.
We should definitely have something in there about, not allowing Airbnbs.
Mhm. Well, and that's going to be,
Sheila.
she said that's her number one thing is the Airbnbs. She has her issues with them. She hasn't exactly voiced them all. She did say she was concerned about somebody not knowing how to operate the boat, not knowing how to get a pump out done. So, so she, we can certainly put it in our letter that, we're concerned with the Airbnbs as she is.
Right.
And,
Mr.
we'd
Chairman?
like to see what she proposes about the Airbnbs and are ready to support her on that.
Mr. Chairman?
So, Mr. Franzuto.
I mean, if I was doing this form, I would have the chapter of the regulation or the bylaw that deals with all of this in the header. That says chapter such and such paragraphs. You don't have to list the whole thing, but at least use it as a reference. So you can start chipping away at this no subletting of moorings and all this other stuff. But if you have it right there, when you hand them the form, you hand them a copy of the regulation and you go, here, you might want to review this before you give me the form back.
Yeah. All
Or
right.
it could be it can be at the bottom of the form, wherever. It just so the reference is there for the boat owner.
Okay. Ginger, you've been quiet.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add to this at this point.
Okay. Well, what you hear so far sound good to you? You're on board with us, I'm sure.
Yep.
Thank you so much. Anybody else?
I'm going to stop screen sharing if that's all right.
That's fine. Okay, we've handled this underneath the Marine Department report. If there's nothing else on this, I'll move forward. Not seeing anybody. Natural Resources, have we been joined by anybody from Natural Resources, Mr. Brace?
No, but Miss Riley's, she said that she offers her apologies for not making the meeting, and she said that the state's Division of Marine Fisheries said that the Mattocket is open to bay scalloping and to the taking of conch, and that they will reissue this notice. I don't know. She goes, her exact words are, the DMF did say that Mattocket is open to bay scallops and conch, though they will reissue a notice. So that's a little, not really sure.
Is that referring to the Jackson Point area that was closed?
Yeah, closed from east of a line from drawn from Jackson Point to Warren's Landing.
Okay. Is that all?
That's all.
Okay. Board members, any more comments on Natural Resources or Marine Department? If not, any public comment? Not seeing or hearing any, I'm going to move forward to old business. The land bank, petrol landing plans. Did everybody take a look at that?
Andy, I'm going to share those plans right now so you guys can see them, okay?
All right. All right, I was really surprised in seeing this plan. I was under the impression all the time that this floating dock was going to be extending off of the eastern facing, we'll say, bulkhead or revetment of the landing and being located much closer to the cottages on Commercial Wharf. I mean, I'm liking this dock so much more from what my imagination told me was going to be there. It's a crying shame that this has been held up since 2017 by the neighbors with litigation. And now with the acquisition of the Milton Rowland house next door, I see a wonderful spot to be able to, you know, back a car down with a trailer and launch a boat. But of course, you know, the types of adjustments we'd like to see made with this, you know, it's all just pie in the sky talk at this point because of the litigation that it's in. They're hoping this litigation comes to a head within the next month or two. Because I look at this plan and I feel it's just with the boardwalks and only 2 parking places, not being able to bring a vehicle in much further than what appears to be allowed there is saddening to me. Eric Savetsky did say that they're not, you know, land bank is not supposed to be promoting or accommodating any commercial use, but this looking at some old pictures that Jim Sherwin dug up, Billy Sales also dug up some old pictures. this was a heavily used commercial area. Never mind commercial wharf being commercial. There was a boat named the Petrel that worked off of this pier. And gosh, it was, I was just looking at the size of it. It was, I don't know, up to 50 feet long, about 13, 14 feet wide. It sounds like it was available for many different uses within our waters here.
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Andrews,
the Fran Cartoonan shared a story with me about the Petrel, which was actually able to get through the cut at the Hallover when it broke through into the harbor, and apparently rescue some people off of a wreck or
no kidding.
Something. And I just would like to say that I feel very strongly about I mean, what are they going to do? Rename it Uncommercial Wharf? I just think it's ridiculous not to allow the working waterfront a place to be, and some people actually, you know, still do work and need the money from it. So I agree with that, and the lack of parking, the lack of actual water access, as it's currently designed, it seems to be. There's no overnight for a dinghy. There's no overnight for a boat. I mean, who do they expect to use it? I mean, the people who are somewhere between, you know, the helicopter and the launch set. I mean, I just want to know how, it doesn't seem practical to me for a lot of the local people, but that's just my opinion. And
Mr. Chairman.
Sorry, Dave.
That's okay. Thank you, Ginger. Dave.
Yeah, as far as the commercial activity, I think that's part of the thing that spurred the lawsuit, was because there was going to be early morning activity there and the noise, et cetera. There was supposed to be, where it says remove existing pilings, there was supposed to be a couple pilings there so you could back two boats up against the bulkhead there. And there were two parking places. The dinghy dock, when we designed this whole thing originally, it relieves a lot of the pressure on the town's dinghy dock, because if I'm coming, if I'm on a rental mooring and I'm coming in to go to dinner, I'd much rather tie up at this dinghy dock and have it well lit, et cetera, go have dinner and then come back, and rather than have to deal with the congestion at the town pier. If I want to come in and go to grocery shopping at the A&P Stop and Shop, you know, I tie up here, I walk a block, I get my groceries, and I'm done. But I still think that we should not I think we should still address to Savetsky the commercial activity and being able to tie up a boat here for a short period of time to load and unload.
All right.
Do minor repairs or whatever.
Let me interrupt you just a second, and I'll go to you next, Mr. Brace. Dave, I did talk to Eric, and actually what they are proposing is the land bank actually wants to pay an attendant, a dock attendant that is overseen by the Marine Department. If somehow they're able to make that work, that would be wonderful. If the land bank
that was Mr. Chairman, that was in the original plan, that the harbor master would have a person over there. One of their dock attendants would be a super.
Well, this is the original plan. This is the 2017 plan. They're not changing anything. It's just
hold on.
Okay, Mr. Brace.
So, you know, not only have I sat in on this discussion on this board before, but I covered it for the newspaper, and I beg to differ.
Okay.
The original plan included a place to back your boat in up here just above, sort of at about 10 o'clock from the end in Nantucket, a place to back your boat in and a place to unload or whatever. That was part of the original plan, and there were going to be more dinghy docks, more space for dinghies. There was never a proposed boardwalk or anything like that. It was just all going to be gravel or whatever they were going to have there, because vehicles were, I remember Bobby DaCosta was very hot on this. And the reason that we are where we are and looking at what we're looking at now is because of the neighbors who complained and said, you know, we don't want all that commercial activity early in the morning with boats loading and unloading. So they came up with this. And the thing about the photos of the petrol is that, you know, you didn't have all these people who were, you know, have residences along the wharf. You had a working wharf. So the sound of a boat coming and going was just part of the sound of the harbor, which was no big deal. I mean, it's nice to see the photos. And when Bam was on the board and this was discussed, he brought the same photos in and said, see, look, this is Petrol Landing, this is the Petrol. But now, you know, it's a working waterfront with people who tolerate it. You know, it's charming to most of these people, but they certainly don't want it in their faces in the morning. So they made this plan to, you know, I'm sure that the plan looks like this to appease these people. And one more thing is that just because there's a proposed boardwalk, brick parking area, they're making an area that's obviously going to be a place that people are going to come and hang out. That doesn't mean that, you know, you couldn't come in and maybe unload something onto that little stretch there, or you could bring your catch in your dinghy and then wheel it up the, you know, I don't think it's going to be absolutely all wealthy people coming in Zodiacs. I think it's going to get used by who are the first come, first serve. Okay, I'll shut up.
Mr. Chairman? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Tom? Oh, I'm not hearing you, Tom.
Peter,
Anybody
correct
else
me if
hear
I'm
him,
wrong.
Tom?
Can you hear me now?
There
Yes.
we go.
Peter, correct me if I'm wrong. I was reading the stuff you sent out because Dave was mentioning people going shopping. From what I read, they're not allowing any unattended boats. So this looks like it's a pickup spot, just like the end of the town pier, that you could come here, you could pick people up, you could stop for a little bit. But basically, there's not going to be a lot of activity here except for, you know, meeting people who might want to take your boat. I didn't see a huge amount of activity that could be allowed if you can't leave your boat.
But that's what I'm saying, Mr. Slavowski, through you, Mr. Chairman, is that with the space available here for drop-offs and pickups, you know, you can back your boat right up there and unload your cod or your scallops and wheel it right up to your car in one of those spots. And it's a hell of a lot shorter than pulling it all the way down the town pier. So
Yeah.
unless the land bank says you can't do that, which I can't see that.
Well, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Franzuto.
2 points, 140 feet of dinghy dock, 140 feet of dinghy dock. If it's for pickup and drop off only, you're gonna have 4 boats there all day, or 4 boats over the entire daytime. And the other argument that I've been fighting with these people for 30 years, they run Myacomic Golf Course, and that is a commercial activity. So don't tell me that they don't allow commercial activity. They only allow commercial activity when it suits them.
Yes, well, and okay, I'm gonna back up some. Give me a minute, and Ginger, I'll get to you next. The Jim Sherland, Carl Sherland's son, brought this to our attention, and he wanted to be here tonight, but he can't. He's out in Alaska fishing. He's staying on top of this. He's in touch with me quite often. So he was told by Eric Savetsky, I think, or maybe it's somewhere in this proposal, that they're going to have a 30-minute limit on docking. And as Mr. Franzuto said, and Mr. Sadowski said, that no boat can be left unattended. Well, that doesn't mean, you know, the boat can come in with 3 or 4 people on board, three people jump out, one runs over to Henry's for a sub, the other goes into the Stop and Shop, the other goes over to the liquor store, and one person stays at the boat. And I can remember doing this, spending the day out at Co2. Hey, let's go to Henry's. Somebody sits at the boat at Children's Beach. It's the same thing at Children's Beach. I mean, you're really not supposed to leave your boat there tied up unattended. And there were times when there were issues. So, but Children's Beach, I tell you, you want to go to the Stop and Shop or to Henry's from Children's Beach, and it was a long run. And I see this as a wonderful, convenient location. And as far as the commercial goes, you're absolutely right, Mr. Franzuto. And Jim Sherlin brought this to my attention also, that the Maya Comet Golf Course, they not only is it commercial, it used to be a 9-hole course. The land bank paid for it to be doubled in size. And also the community gardens out at the old Frank Powers farm, where as we speak, a shed is being completed, lean-to for selling produce from that is grown there. And in no way, shape, or form am I complaining about that. It's just a wonderful argument in our favor that the land bank is already conducting commercial activity at 2 pieces of property. And if somebody's willing to do some research, I can remember on Walwinet Road, just before Chaos Corner, just after NISDA, there used to be a little cottage on the left, right on the marsh. Then the land bank bought that property, and at the time, I believe it was Alan Reinhard who mentioned that what a beautiful property for us to rent to a wedding event, something like that. And it would be interesting if somebody could research if there are any other properties that the land bank uses or lets use of for commercial type activity. And just to help our argument for the fishermen, for the use of this area, another approach of ours could be commercial use during scallop season only to start with. And hopefully after that, we could, if that were agreeable, we could incrementally get a little more use in there. But at this point, as Jim Sherlin mentioned, I'll speak in his behalf, what a wonderful place to be able to pull your boat up and get your car about as close as anywhere except for Children's Beach, to get your car as close to your boat as possible. Even, being on Straight Wharf or Commercial Wharf where some scallop boats are kept, you still have a decent walk there to your vehicle from your boat. And this is an incredibly it couldn't be more ideal of a location for something like that. So I think we need to form our opinions just as we did with liveaboards. Also, I see some changes that could be made in this plan. If you scroll all the way up to page 36, it shows some finger piers by the looks of it. That's the only plan I saw that on. And of course, and I'd like to back up when I said this was the original plan. I understand that, I'm sure it came in. This is the plan that went before Concom, and this is the plan that is being appealed by the neighbors. And this dates back to, as you all saw on the first page, what was it, October of 2017, where it was submitted to the Concom. At this point, like I said, I don't think the land bank, until litigation is cleaned up, they're not going to alter the plan any. But on the other hand, they also said where this litigation may be coming to an end, and now that they've bought the house next door, the Milton Rowland office building, certainly revisions are welcomed. They said revisions and changes, ideas are welcomed from us. So our timing is right on this, and I think we need to hash out, what is practical, which we're doing now, and push for it.
Mr. Chairman?
Oh, I had to go to Ginger next.
Yeah, I'll just be quick. I think the idea of possibly switching it to seasonal commercial use, mainly for the scallops, is not a bad idea, because I don't think a lot of those places are occupied in the winter. And
Exactly.
I might have had one other point, but it slipped out of my mind at this point while I was waiting. So that's all for now.
All right. If you think of it again, jot it down. I'll allow it anytime later in the meeting.
Thank you.
Mr. Franzuto?
I agree with it at the time. Our timing is what is good, but I've got too much to say about this than the meeting should allow. So I'm going to put my comments in an email. Peter, is it allowable to send the email to everybody?
As long as you don't comment on it and get a conversation going. So when
I'm just
everybody
going to list what I think we should at least ask for.
well, I think we're working toward me writing another letter, right? A letter that goes to the land bank saying this is what we think. So you can send an email to everybody. We just can't all respond to you and converse and talk about the letter, because then that constitutes an open a meeting.
Okay, well, if we each do that, then we can talk about it at the next meeting, right?
That's right. And I can write a letter for the next meeting reflecting everyone's thoughts.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Bossy, anything to add?
No, I would agree. It's a lengthy subject. I'm sure a lot of negotiation has gone in with the land bank so far to get to this point with the neighbors. And I think we have to remember to respect that, although I would like to see more done here. And maybe with the addition of this second property, that can be accomplished.
Mhm.
So that's about it.
Mr. Bossy, any legal help you can give us in this? We're all ears. So I don't know if any of you want to, take a certain route on gathering more information, or getting more familiar with the legal end of this. Anything will help us move forward, and hopefully we should be working together with the land bank in supporting them in getting this done, and also helping them to understand the need for the fishermen's access, possible limited or certain size boat ramp access. I think they may look at it as we're asking for a lot, but there's no place left to do something like this, and so this is like a last chance for some real harbor access that can cover many bases. So
We should have bought the boatyard when we had a chance.
yeah, well, or at least have gotten right alongside it where the pipeline was. We should have gone in with a proposal at the same time for a solid fill pier.
Exactly.
I don't know if you've all noticed how many barges are coming in with gravel and modular homes, but last week there was a gravel barge every day, and actually they were held up one day because a modular home could not be unloaded from a barge because of the angle of the ramp and the tide. And the amount of trucks that cross through town for all this barge unloading is tremendous. And truthfully, from what I've heard from people who work at Steamship Authority, they don't like it. They don't like all this barge traffic and the damage to their pier. And they truly wish the town had their own solid fill pier. Another story for another time. If there's anything else on this particular issue, the land bank petrol landing plans.
I have one thing, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, please, Ginger.
The I am so fed up with these decorative park things, the boardwalks, the trees, the cutesy poo landscaping. I mean, it just
Yes.
offends me.
and that
I'm sorry to say.
And that should be part of our we've let's count up. There's your job, Ginger. How many areas has the land bank got that have turned into that? Now I'd start with Alan Holgate's property on Washington Street. How many other properties they've acquired on Washington Street that are fenced in areas next to the Mariah Mitchell Aquarium. I think it would be a wonderful place for people to be able to park and sit and eat lunch and watch the waterfront. I've done it a couple of times with my wife, driven in there right over the grass. I think, there's so much more could be done with the land bank properties, and they seem to prefer to gussy it up and turn it into a pretty place to take a stroll, and it's not accommodating the working person and or the boater or the waterman, and I think that needs to be part of our argument. So if you could add up all the pretty parks that they've created, Ginger, there's your homework if you don't mind.
All right.
Seeing as you brought that up.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd rather not, but
it's a very good point.
It's to what hurts me in a way. What hurts me more is all the access points that we've lost. So, but
Yeah.
yes, I will make a point of that.
All right.
Thank you.
And I don't know how many of you watched the property transfers, but that James Street issue down on Hulbert Ave went through, and immediately the next day I saw one of the places, it added to their square footage, and they got some approvals at the HDC. Certainly they were waiting for that transaction to take place and acquire some of that land to enable them to move forward with the personal project. And
what did I tell you?
Yeah. So I think we caught on to that one, maybe, a little too late. Hopefully they don't build into that roadway at all. Hopefully they don't narrow it down any. So if it ever did have to be used for walking out to the steamboat stuck in the ice, as the picture we see in the back of Last End magazine depicts, that it's not improbable for that to be an issue. But so anyhow, I'm glad we're on top of this one. Let's see what kind of progress we make. I'm excited, and I'm happy for the board to be so involved. If there's nothing else on the land bank, I'll move forward.
I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Excessive sand being found in scallops. So I think most of Dave did you understand? Did you get my text, Mr. Franzuto?
I did, and I understand it.
Okay,
Probably better now than I did before, but I went to a couple shanties, guys that still let me go into the shanties. And I talked to a couple of the buyers, and the buyers don't seem to be having a problem. So that tells me that the fishermen are doing a good job washing them.
okay.
So I think that was my concern, was the sand in the scallops. Now, why there's sand in the scallops is a whole discussion for a whole nother discussion. But I'm satisfied with the stuff. I don't think our reputation and product is being degraded. I think the fishermen are doing a good job getting the sand out of there.
Okay, well, since I brought this to our attention, and it was from visiting Carl Sherlin's shanty, along with Bruce Cowan being in there opening his scallops. It was an eye-opening experience, no pun intended, to see all the sand. And I talked with Carl more recently, and he said, I asked him what it's like, and he said, well, it all depends on where he fishes. And so, but what I would really like to do is evolve this discussion more into a dredging plan. And this is November 20th issue of the Block Island Times. They've got a picture of, they're dredging. And Mr. Franzuto, you looked up in the past some different towns on the Cape that are dredging, the reasons they're dredging. It's not only for navigation. Some of the reasons these towns on the Cape are getting dredging permits is for shellfish bed enhancement, quote unquote. Mr. Carlson has mentioned there's a maintenance dredging plan in the works. I'd like to, like I said, evolve this into dredging discussion and see where it goes. It seems like when I bring it up, don't get a whole lot of response out of the town biologist, which I'm hoping to hear more response from her. Also, where Jeff is working on this, hearing what his progress is. But, what I'm looking for is to get an approval of at least a test spot, as they've done, with replanting some eelgrass. Can we pick a spot that we know has a heavy amount of granular sand from erosion, that would be helpful to be removed, to monitor it, to see if eelgrass makes a comeback on its own, to see if it's a better way to replenish eelgrass. So any board members who want to add to this, tell me what you think, please do. Mr. Franzuto?
You're definitely going to have the biologist on board.
Yes.
I just made a bunch of notes. I'm gonna follow up with the dredge plan and talk to coastal zone management about what their tact is right now on dredging for other than navigation, and I'll report back to the board. But to your point, you're gonna have to have the biologist on board no matter what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe this is a good time of year for us to have that discussion with her. But this is a big topic.
Well, and you guys have heard me bring this up before, and I hope I'm not sounding like a broken record, because I'd like to think I'm just breaking the ice on this. There's a lot of towns up and down the coast that are dredging, and for good reason. And you've heard me say this before. It's for some reason you get out to Nantucket and dredging is a 4-letter word, and it doesn't have to be that. I think it can be done in a low impact manner, and I think it can be done in a positive way. I think it would be good for the health of the harbor. This ties in with health of the harbor, which we're going to discuss 3 topics ahead. So anybody else?
I have mixed feelings about dredging. That's as far as I'm going to go right now, but I do have mixed feelings about it.
All right. Ginger, maybe we need to, I'd love to take anybody who would be interested for a ride on our coastlines, especially Coatue beaches that have eroded, gosh, 50, 60, 80 feet of beach has just gone. There's trees falling onto the beach. You know, you can see it starting, like I've said before, from Washington Street, Monomoy. There isn't a coastline within our harbor that hasn't eroded. What is it due to? Is it climate change? Is it tide rising? Sure. But does that mean we just sit on our hands? This is why I'd like to start out softly, and if we can get some type of study into this, and we can't study it without picking a test area to actually do it. So if we can evolve this, Mr. Brace, make a note if you may, if you would, to evolve our excessive sand being found in scallops into a dredging discussion, unless I mean, I can't see any other reason except for the lack of eelgrass. Personally, I feel this sand has smothered eelgrass beds. And prior to several of you being on the board, and I've said this once before, I'll repeat it again, that when Cormac Collier was part of the Land Council, and he was at one of our meetings when we used to meet in the meeting room, and Jeff Carlson was in attendance also. And we were talking about, about eelgrass replenishment. Land Council was talking about, you know, their test area for replanting eelgrass. And I asked Cormac if eelgrass could grow in the granular sand that you find on the beach. And he said, no, it needs a muddy base for its root system. And then Mr. Carlson chimed in that some people have told him that where they used to set their mooring in 6 feet of water, they're setting it in the same place and it's now 4 feet of water. I think these are signs that are obvious signs. We've got a lot of sand slumping into our harbor, and unlike our eastern and southern shores, this sand is not moving around the island. It's staying in our harbor. Mr. Brace.
So 2 things maybe to consider. Yes, definitely sea level rise is going to erode the inner harbor, and things are going to get slopped around. Also, a factor I'll bet is that, what was it, 3 years ago now, the Army Corps of Engineers repaired our jetties and filled in holes. And it is believed that the velocity of our tides increased by 3/4 of a knot, which could be switching sand around and depositing it. And you know, I mean, more as the water rises around the harbor, around the island, around the world, more of that which was land is now in liquid form in the ocean. More sediment, more sand, more gravel, more dead cedar trees. I mean, can't say the swear word in the public forum, but you know, poop happens, you know, erosion happens, as the bumper sticker says. So,
Well,
it sounds to me like maybe it's not as, you know, much of a big deal as, I mean, maybe it's a big deal for some of the scalpers, but listening to the minutes yesterday, listening to what Tara said, you know, she's hearing that from some of them, but not all of them. And I remember what, you know, and one of Ginger's comments at the last meeting was, you know, the two guys that were telling you that this was happening, Bruce Cowan and Carl Sherlin, are two guys that know how to manipulate their dredges correctly and know how to weight them correctly. They're two of our most experienced scallopers. So, you know, the dredges probably aren't to blame. I'm just saying that it may not be the issue we think it is. That's all.
Mr. Chairman?
I'm not trying to say that we shouldn't follow up on the dredging plan. I'm just saying that maybe the sand and the scallops is not the issue that we think it is.
Just a second, Ginger. I just want to make one comment, you know, just to looking at it in a different way, Mr. Brace, when I see the sign or sticker erosion happens, and we know what it evolved from, the four-letter word happens, I won't use it either. But the first one, when the four-letter word happens, we do something about it. We take action. And erosion happens is contradictive to that, because I think we're supposed to believe, well, erosion happens, we can't do anything about it. Well, I think we can. And because I know when blank, blank, blank happens, we jump to action and we do something about it. We clean up after ourselves. And so when erosion happens, I truly feel there is some action we can take, especially if it's harming our eelgrass beds and our shell fishery, which is my main concern, and all of yours as well. So we're certainly in, you know, what could really be just a fledgling discussion on this, because we need some data to follow. But there's a lot that can be seen by the naked eye. So I'm more than welcome to take an afternoon and tour with any of you if it would help. You know, if the whole board isn't on board with this, I understand, and I'm fine with that. I appreciate all of you being here. I think we all work together well. So it just is, it's something that's staring me in the face, and I can't not say anything and or try to take action. Thanks for listening, guys. If there's Ms. Anders.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah, I think the issues as was specifically brought up was with the horse shed, which used to be thickly coated with eelgrass. So it was a specific area, and you're speaking in a more general way, and then maybe I'll be free to take the tour one of these days and go for a socially distant, well-masked walk, and
Okay.
and
All right.
we can discuss it.
Well, actually, the horse shed was about the fast ferries going by fast. They were fishing off of the piers at Monomoy, where they were getting most of the sand. So you know, the horse shed was more related to the fast ferry and how much the fast ferry is making. Possibly, you know, I have something to add at the end of the meeting on that very quickly. Hopefully you can all watch a couple of YouTube videos and get a kick out of it. But it also shows up close what the waves of the fast ferry, how they come right to shore over there at Coatue Point. So anything else on the sand?
No, I'm gonna follow up with them about what you're talking about and the dredge plan.
With who, Dave?
And with the natural resources folks, and I'll follow up with coastal zone management about who's dredging for improvement of shellfishing. I'll get back to everybody.
And, you know, it's been a while. That was maybe 2 years ago where I read one of the Cape Towns dredging for shellfish bed enhancement. And maybe we can go by, maybe they have some results. What
Yeah,
if,
it was in Falmouth, and Greg Fraser's the harbor master over there. He's a dear friend of mine. Unfortunately, I was at a funeral with him yesterday, but I'll follow up with them, because if they've already gone through the permitting, they know the right words to say, and I'm a great plagiarizer, or whatever that word is. But
careful.
I'll no, I'll try to find out who's doing what.
Thank you. If there's nothing else on this subject, we'll move forward to the proposed pier at 46 Shimopon Road. Mr. Brace has an update.
Yeah, I spoke to a woman who is the zoning board of appeals administrator at the planning office, and her name is Eleanor, and I cannot remember her last name, but she, you know, I spoke to her by email, and when I asked her, you know, would this be showing up in any meetings? It's not planned for the meeting. Well, it's not, let's see, December. It didn't happen last week on the 10th, and it's not planned for the meeting on the 14th in January. And when I mentioned that, well, she asked the question, and I said, the Conservation Commission denied it 7-0 unanimously. She said, well, when that happens, she said she couldn't see it going any further because they needed the Concom approval. So I kind of got the feeling that it might not go anywhere, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't be vigilant.
Absolutely, Peter. And Mr. Sidlowski.
Peter, for the minutes, it's Eleanor Antonietti, Antoniettti.
Okay, thank you.
Chairman, I've got to jump off. I'm sorry.
That's quite all right, Mr. Franzuto.
Well, I have quite a list of homework, as you would call it, so I'll get busy on that.
Okay,
Thank you,
All right.
everybody.
thank you.
There it is.
Anything else on 46 Shimopon?
No.
If not, moving forward, the oyster lease permit review. Mr. Lambrecht,
Yes,
getting a little cold out there for any gel coat work. Tell us what you're up to.
well, skip the gel coat. It's already done. All that's done. I'm doing wiring and hydraulic lines right now. It's coming along. It's coming along. I'm getting there. It'll be done.
Any contact with Mr. Carlson?
I did not, and I have to admit, I didn't make an attempt this week. So
Has
it's
he reached out to you?
not to the best of my knowledge. No.
I guess no news is good news. So it's nice to see you here. Obviously, your attendance here over the past month or better, or 2 months or better has, you know, it tells me that you care and you're interested and doing your best to move forward. Wintertime is going to really, you know, these next 4 days don't look good in the as far as temperatures go, and with some precipitation coming. So at this point, I just want to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and you know, we'll see you next year in January, and hope that you know, you can continue to make progress and not you know, have any issues that hurt what you're trying to do come from natural resources. I think I've stated before, you know, we're on both sides of this fence. That's where we're put. We wanna help fishermen, but at the same time, we have to support our natural resources department. So I mean, we don't have to, but it would be nice of us to work together and in line with natural resources. If you feel they're out of line, we're here to hear you about that also, and you know, and can support you any way we possibly can, especially since you're showing due diligence by showing up and making some progress with your boat. Do you have any hopes or wishes for a winter launching for at least a test run?
Oh, yeah, it'll, as soon as it gets done, it's going in, it's gonna go to work
Okay,
for sure. I don't think the resources department's anywhere out of line. They just doing their job, you know what I mean?
yeah,
I don't have an issue with that at all.
okay, all right,
It's actually more interesting just seeing what's going on in the harbor right now, because I kind of been away from it for some time and getting the inside information on what's happening, which is kind of cool.
Mhm. All right. Board members, anything for Mr. Lambrecht or any comments on this topic?
Just keep going, Ted. Get her done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ted.
We're pulling for you.
All right. Moving forward, health of the harbors. Now, Mr. Franzuto wasn't at our last meeting, but he had texted me before the meeting. He said, "What happened to those island-wide bumper stickers for job site dumpsters?" And for a while during COVID, the Shellfish Association didn't meet. The last time we did speak about it at a Shellfish Association meeting, they were willing to invest in the stickers. The next time they meet, I'm going to bring it up again and see if they're still willing to make that investment. I'm willing to take my own time, and I'm sure I could gather others to help and get them applied. And it made me think of when Mr. Perkins brought before us the nub rule issue. And at the end of his discussion, he admitted that, you know, as much as he didn't like the nub rule, this is more about the environment and the health of the harbor. And, you know, he went on about, you know, fertilizers and sewerage and it just made me think that, you know, we should have a topic, you know, I don't want to beat a dead horse on the hazardous materials, so I kind of wanted to relabel it health of the harbor. And or Peter and I, Mr. Brace and I came up with that. And I'd like to keep it on our agenda so that it's something that can always be added to, spoken about during a meeting. It can cover a lot of ground. Health of the harbor can cover all kinds of things. So, and having it on the agenda for as long as we see fit enables us to be able to speak about it any week that that something new comes up, and also enables us to take a vote if need be. Comments, anything you'd like to add, remaining board members? That sound okay for now?
Yeah, I just think it's, yeah, leave it. Have a
Mr.
topic.
Bossy?
Sure.
That came in kind of fuzzy, Mr. Bossy.
Oh, I was just saying that I think it's a good idea to keep the topic on there. I like the renaming of it. And I think it's more appropriate because it covers a lot of areas.
Great.
Pieces that go into the health of the harbor, and it gives us a chance to plug them in the agenda when we need to.
Thanks. Ms. Andrews?
Oh, yeah, it just occurred to me as you were talking that, you know, when you clean up the stuff that happens, that's where it ends up, is in the harbor. So it's not as simple as it sounds.
Correct. It has a lot of moving parts. If there's no other discussion on that, we'll move forward to new business with an update on Coastal Resilience Advisory Committee efforts. Mr. Brace.
Yeah, the biggest news I got is that the town's coastal resilience consultant will be presenting to our board on January 19th.
Wonderful. Good news.
It'll be a 30-minute presentation. I sat in on their presentation to the Nantucket Coastal Conservancy yesterday, and they were very organized with lots of questions for Arcadis. So we might, at the January 5th meeting, we might do the same thing, generate a list of questions, things that are concerns, so that when they present to us, we're ready for them.
Is that meeting out there somewhere that we could see it?
Yeah, I sent that.
Okay.
Oh, you mean the Coastal Conservancy?
Yeah.
I can send you a link.
Okay. We can review a past meeting.
Yeah, I can. I think I can send you a link.
All right. All right. Look into that if there's anything that can help us come up to speed, so that we know where they're coming from and where something we're concerned about may align with that and have a question about. I think that would help us quite a bit to be able to have any input of our own.
Okay, that's all I got on that.
Anything else from the board on this subject? If not, public questions and comment, anything from the public? If not, recap items for next meeting. I'd just like to mention, one of our very recent topics was the speed of the fast ferry. I was on Coatue Point Sunday and watched the IANO come in, and they did not back off the throttle until the horse shed. And do y'all have a pencil and paper? I sent a little message to Peter earlier. I'd like the rest of you to look at this on YouTube. Biggest ferry wave yet. Check that out. And longest wave on Nantucket. And you'll see 4 kids. It's lengthy, but they're surfing the waves of the fast ferry, and they get on their boards at Coatue Point. And it's fun, but it's also eye-opening. You have to, kind of see a lot of other stuff in between, but they also do it with their own boat, but they're outside the jetties in the Court of the Bay. I failed to mention earlier also that there's another abandoned boat in about the same place the one was last year, November 13th. It's a much smaller, like sailboat type boat that's kind of stuck nose down on the bottom and the stern sticking up in the air. I don't know how it got there, if it's an island boat or if it washed over from the Cape. Just thought I'd throw that out there, that things happen. Is there anything else the board would like to add? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Brace.
I'd like to say, in counter to what you said about the INO, yesterday I was at the Shellfish hatchery and saw the INO pulling out, and it motored as slow as it goes past the horse shed out to the cut, and it didn't punch it till it went past the cut. So I guess maybe it might depend on the captain, or I don't know, but it's definitely
or the direction they're going in. I actually took the IANO out Thursday morning and Monday morning, and he idled out until the cut. I didn't pay too much attention. It was nighttime on my return, but like I say, Sunday midday, boy, he barreled right in hard, and I was actually looking for beach glass and was at the water's edge, and a wave snuck up on me right up to my knees. The wave hit hard and filled my shoes up and soaked my pants, and I just had my back to it at that point because he had already gone by, but the waves hadn't hit yet. So he barreled in pretty hard, but and as a good point was made before, over in Hyannis, boy, they slow down way out there. They do a lot of idling in Hyannis compared to what they do here. But anyhow, something to keep an eye on. I like the fact that it can be seen on the internet somewhere there on GPS, but it doesn't seem to bother them that they can be watched. Actually, these guys on their surfboards, they wave their board up out of the water to get the captain's attention. And then you'll see they get all excited because the captain puts the hammer down, and they're all excited because they've got the longest wave on Nantucket to ride out into the jetties. It's pretty neat, but eye-opening to say the least. At least these kids are able to go out and have some kind of fun. But if it's damaging the environment, that's unfortunate. Is there a motion to adjourn if there's no more discussion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Sadlowski, seconded by Ms. Andrews. All in favor, Mr. Brace? Mr. Bossy?
Aye.
Mr. Lowell, aye. Motion's unanimous. This meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Our next meeting's January 5th, as Mr. Brace mentioned.